Hey, welcome back to Connection Point Studies. We are glad you're here. This is the last in this series called Getting Rich, and Jason has written all of these studies, and you're giving him feedback. Hopefully, it hasn't been too painful for
It
you.
kind of hurts here and there. My
I
back
hope you
hurts.
give him some good feedback, and we do want to make these studies better. So hopefully, they're helpful to you as you lead your group. And if you're a brand new group, we hope you're enjoying this time and getting to know each other, and growing and learning about each other. So this first question is designed to do just that, right? It's what we call a warm-up question. Everyone in the group answers. So Jason, give us our warm-up question for
One
the day.
question today is: when was a time in your life when someone provided for you?
And then before you come back, we want you to actually read some scripture. 1 Timothy 6, verses 18 and 19. And then Luke 16, verses 9 through 14. And be ready to talk about them.
So, Dan, when was a time in your life when someone provided for you?
You know, I've had a lot of times in my life. And in fact, really, to be honest with you, ministry, I made a commitment when I first became a pastor to just live on the salary, whatever the church gave me, or whatever was provided for me at the time. So I feel like almost every week of my life and pastorate, I'm in a position where I trust God to provide for me through His people, and God's really done that through His people.
Yeah,
So
well, look, you got a shirt in your back right now,
yeah,
right?
I know
So,
that's good, and I'm content, right? I'm wealthy. That's good. So we've got some questions for them to dig into
right.
today.
So the first question I have is: what other kinds of riches are there in the world? And that can be found in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 18.
Okay. It's kind of an interesting discussion, I think. How did you answer that? And I would be curious
See,
to
I
how
would say
they
I
would
would be
answer
curious
that.
in what other people thought the different
Okay.
kinds of riches were. I thought the different kinds of riches was money. There's like gold, there's
Hmm.
silver, there's jewels, diamonds. There's even emotional wealth, like the relationship I have with my brother gives me good
Hmm.
emotions with my parents,
Hmm.
different things like that. And also there's this
How
this
about physical health?
I was gonna say there is a physical health where I spend a certain amount of my time a week working out, going on
Hmm.
runs, going biking in
Hmm.
the summer, to really make sure that I stay physically healthy.
Well, and there's some people that would give their entire wealth just so they had health. So there is this measure of wealth that is very different than maybe just money. And
Right.
getting rich is talking about that whole balance of all of that. And that's what Timothy talked about there, isn't it? So
Hmm.
let's give another question.
Yeah, so the second question is: does God give, or why does God give us small tasks?
Why does God give us small tasks?
And that can be found in Luke chapter 16, verse 10.
Okay, this is a great lesson. Why does God give us small tasks?
I think because God needs to develop us as people and we're being responsible.
Isn't it a test?
I think it's a test.
I think that God gives you small things. You mentioned last week you tithe. Well, you don't make a lot of money. When the test comes, okay, I'm going to be faithful in this small thing. But what happens if all of a sudden God dumps a pile of cash in your pocket?
Yeah, I'll have the responsibility and the development to tithe the bigger amount that
Hmm.
God's given me because I
Of
started with
your
a small
faithfulness,
amount.
small amount. It's kind of interesting. God gives us these little small things, and I think of the small little things that turn into big things. And to be really faithful with small stuff is really really critical. And I think that's what this lesson really
Mm-hmm.
is a lesson about wealth by being faithful in small stuff. Let's give them another
Yeah, so we
question.
have our third question is in Luke chapter 16, verse 9, and that is: what does Jesus say to do?
So, Jason, we look at this. It says use your worldly resources to benefit others and make friends. That's really a pretty easy answer, isn't it?
Yeah, the answer is just
How
to,
do you interpret that?
yeah, it's what we're given from God. We give back to people. We do
Hmm.
keep some for ourselves because, as we said, we do need money to live and buy food, pay the mortgage, maybe pay a boat payment if we have a boat. But is also an aspect to where we give away money, where we might tithe, we might give to food banks or food shelters or help finance different things.
I even look in this. If you're a good business person and you have good employees and you pay them well, that's an example of using your resources to provide a good job and to pay somebody.
Yeah, and to bless someone else.
Yeah, to make a difference. That's why it's so good that we have people that have the resources to own businesses, to run businesses in a way that blesses other people.
Yeah, and what's said in Luke is also reflected in 1 Timothy chapter 6 verse 18, where it says, let me look it up right here. It says they should be good, rich in good works, and generous to those in need, always being ready to share with others, so that people share. It's a good thing.
I look at this whole gift of generosity as being when you're generous, you're really reflecting God's character in your life. So let's give him another question.
Yeah, so our fourth question is, what is the true life that Paul speaks of? And that can be found or referenced in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 19.
Okay, so what's the reference you think it is?
You know, I
What's a
think
good life?
when people start to give their lives away, a beautiful thing happens inside one another. Where when I started volunteering my time at this church when I was maybe like 14 years old, 15 years old, you know, something inside of me started to grow, started to bud and blossom, where I started to really develop a relationship with God, where I had a personal connection with the God of the universe.
Right.
It's a pretty cool thing.
I think you've hit on something that, you know, we have these three core values where you celebrate, you connect, and then you contribute. And really this contribute is one of the areas of depth. When you can tell somebody's really deepened is when they really learn to give their lives away. And so many people live a shallow life. They may celebrate, they may connect, but they never really learn to give their life away. And it's in giving your life away you find real depth. And that's what Timothy's talking about here, or Paul's talking to Timothy about. So you have another question for us?
Yeah, the last question is going to be our application. So our application question is going to be, how are you being generous in your life?
You know, this is a chance for you to talk about generosity, and maybe as your small group, you want to take a time and do one of the tailgate ministries. I don't know whether you've done that with your small group.
my young adult program actually is integrating about once a month, or trying to get to once every 2 weeks whenever they go out to get out with them. It's an awesome experience too, where we go and serve 70 homeless people.
Or maybe you want to go as a whole small group to Mexico and enjoy a little vacation along with some mission work, or just simply picking on a task, or taking on a family, or working with somebody. The amazing things happen as we learn to give our life away. I think it changes us and it deepens us. So this is your chance to talk in a group about how you can develop generosity in your life. I know that you'll do that. It'll be a great time. And next week, there will be no Connection Point study. It is a Listen to the Music week, which is a chance for you to have a social. So have a big party. This is a chance for you to celebrate, a good chance for you to invite new people to your group and to expand your group. And so we'll see you in 2 weeks at Connection Point Studies.